It is the Friday night. We are in the wonderful pub of Marboyles. It's one of the best looking pubs in Liverpool and one of the best pints of Erdinger as well. And we're here to talk about something that came out yesterday, which is there's a Premier League summit, which is probably fun. They're all busy mates at the moment, and all these chairmen having a big chat. One of the things that was raised by Wolves was the idea of getting rid of VAR. It was voted 19-1. We don't know who the one is, but let's presume it was Wolves.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
So they voted to keep it. So Wolves wanted to scrap it. They were defeated 19-1. So they voted to keep it, but they've said they want to make improvements. So we're going to talk about what improvements we make. It can't be scrapping. I'm sorry, Kev.
Well, that's improvement number one. Fucking bin it right off. But I'm willing to be a little bit more level-headed and have a little think about it.
Well, they voted to keep it. So what would you like to see differently if it is staying? Because they've talked about things. I'll come on to talk about what they've said they want of improvements. But how would you like to see it improved if it is here to stay for the short to medium term at least?
It's the one thing that I hate about it the most, the absolute most. It takes away the moments of joy of scoring a goal in a lot of situations. Now, a lot of people have told me to just celebrate anyway, but it doesn't work like that. Your brain doesn't explode like that if it's got a doubt in it. If it knows it's a goal, like in the olden days, you just look at the line and if you hadn't put his flag up, you were gone. I'd like to get somewhere close to back to that. So I think the only, as I say, I think it's rubbish. I think for what it's taken away and what it's given, I just don't think the balance is right. I think previously, okay, we had some bad ones go against us, but we're still having bad ones go against us now, and I'd rather they happen in live time than 15-minute delays. But the one thing that they need to go for surely is the automated VAR, automated offside system.
Yeah.
So if the ball's played through earlier on in a move, I hate that feeling of, because I didn't celebrate Nunez's second against Newcastle this season because I was convinced he was offside. And then it was a goal and I was a bit like, bastards, I was gutted, you know what I mean?
You've had that stolen from you a little bit.
That's what it felt like. And it's, like, I want to get back to, as close as possible, being able to celebrate goals in live time. Unfortunately, I don't think it's ever going to get there, but I think the automated offsides will give a little bit of a better thing because that 3.5, 4, 5 minutes of someone drawing toes and ankles, I'm just like, that's not what offside was for. It's to stop people from goal angling. It's not to stop it somewhere being offside.
Just Dixie Dean, just say it, mate.
Obviously everyone knows Dixie Dean didn't have to deal with offside, and that's why he scored all his goals. So yeah.
So he's
basically Everton's fault. It's all Everton's fault.
They did focus groups. I was reading about it, and they did focus groups to find out like what was the thing that people fans disliked most about VAR. It was exactly that. It was the loss of spontaneous celebrations or them being diminished by VAR, and that's like I think that's a big thing for me. I think like what annoys me most is the communication. You know, I was thinking about like all the things that I see wrong as VAR, and when you think about them, they're all problems with the people that are handling VAR, looking after VAR. So it's communication, it's the errors, the two main things for me here. You know, in that focus group, the second thing was the in-stadium experience. So if you're watching on TV, actually, like with VAR, like there's commentary going on and you're able to see different angles, and as an experience, like you're getting something from it, do you know what I mean? But in the stadium, you're stood there going, well, there's no screen at Anfield, I haven't a fucking clue what's going on.
I don't want the screen.
The fella shouts, checking VAR, and it's usually like fucking 5 minutes after
the VAR's complete.
And then it goes, VAR complete. I can't remember what game it was, against Villa away. There was we were in the away end and there was screens in the hospitality afterwards, and we were able to see on TV before they announced and before the referee announced in stadium that the VAR had cancelled the goal out. I think it was the Villa goal or whatever. We were the Liverpool away end were celebrating before the referee announced it. There's something broken there.
That's a mad one. That is a mad one.
I mean, that's one of the things that they've said that they're going to look at. So basically, they voted down, but they said they want to make certain improvements, and one of them was communication with fans within the stadium, which sort of feels like a good thing. Like, you know, whether that's the ref mic'd up and you can sort of hear him, or whether that's, you know, I mean, that'd be
wild.
To be fair, at least it had some entertainment.
Yeah,
it really reinforced that they're all manx though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Kid, is he off there?
Fucking Curly Watts telling you what he's up to.
Yeah. That scoutses you nuggets.
They used to do the Liam Gallagher walk, I think, but I mean, I don't know what it is, but that's one thing that they've said, you know, the idea of, you know, keeping people, you know, in the stadium, the people who were there wondering what on earth's going on, like a little bit more in the loop. And you talked about like mistakes as well. they've said like more training now. Who's doing that training and what that looks like? You know, we'll sort of have to wait and see. But you were talking before about Kev about like, you know, the pros not outweighing the cons. Like we've had, I think it's hard from Liverpool fans. Like we're statistically one of the hardest done to in terms of VAR, in terms of reverse VAR decisions, not in our favour, but also mistakes. So both ways. So we're going to have like a more negative experience than others, and we'll see sort of what that happens. But either way, like, you know, if you're looking at it again, there shouldn't be a thing where a few days later you go, no, yeah, sorry, we got that wrong, even with the VAR.
I think the problem is football. Like people want to make it black and white on a decision, and there is no black and white on a foul, is there? Sometimes a foul is a foul for someone not touching a player. So remember Steven Gerrard got the penalty against Sheffield United years ago, which Warnock went off his head for, because the player slid into him. Gerrard managed to jockey the tackle, but still couldn't make the ball. So it's a foul, but he hasn't been touched. So a lot of people would say, well, if he hasn't been touched, there isn't a foul, and that's a valid viewpoint. But in my opinion, that one was a foul. But that's one side and that's the other. The grey area in the middle, just one person is just giving their opinion. They're not giving, okay, we've got the rule book here and it says exactly this. They're just giving another variation on an opinion.
Do you feel like your feeling on the pitch there is better as well? So I think with a lot of these decisions, I think the ref you can sort of see that and go, that doesn't feel right, sometimes has a better feeling for that than someone, you know, watching it on telly.
Yeah, 1,000,000%, because they can see. It's all about the context of a tackle, isn't it? So if you think about a tackle that's made in the middle of the centre circle when someone's lunging to get the ball and they've just mistimed it slightly, two come in and one's just slightly missed out, and the slow-mo shows his foot right on his ankle, and you're like the Curtis Jones one's a really good one against Tottenham. As soon as the referee goes to the screen, that was the first picture he showed, wasn't he? There's the still image of his foot on top of whoever it was, his ankle. The context of that tackle was in the middle of the pitch, they both stretched for it, and Jones was just, you're talking a millisecond too late.
He skidded off the top of the ball.
Yeah, so he's just a millisecond out with his timing. That matters, that context of that coming together like that matters. Whereas as soon as you slow it down, you take that context out, you just go, oh, it's a baddie that. The referee on the pitch for me now, their role has been so diminished that I think lots of times, like for instance, the one against Man City where we should have had the penalty for the McAllister thing to the chest, I think if the referee hasn't got to think, well, I don't want to get this wrong because someone else will save me if I have got it wrong. I think if he's forced to make a decision in that moment, he clearly just goes, he's kicked him in the chest, it's a penalty. But I think because he's got this, it's a
safety net.
Yeah, well, it's turned as a safety net, but I think it isn't. I think what it does is it removes anybody's ability to make a decision, because the referee goes, oh, I'll let VAR give that because it's the 93rd minute of the biggest game in English football.
But the VAR goes, well, he hasn't given.
He hasn't given, that's why I can't get involved there. Yeah, so you're never going to get rid of that either. I don't see a world where, because people watching this will be going, it's not the VAR that's the problem, and obviously it isn't, because that's just a system. The problem is they say it's the people who are doing the decision making, but the people who are doing the decision making have been doing so in football for 150 years, and the songs about the 150 years. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to suddenly get a super intelligent level of mank who can then come and referee.
It don't exist.
Well, it doesn't exist anyway. That's why the referees. But until I think people are searching for perfection in a game that can't be perfect. And the imperfections in football are what make us love it. That's the bit that really gets me down with it, because I just, like, the likes of that one, as I say, the McAllister one's a classic example. There's no way a referee on a Sunday league pitch doesn't just go to the lad, you just kicked him in the chest. Like that, and the lad just goes,
I did, yeah.
Yeah, go on. But he has had that, he's a top-class referee, had that decision taken out of his hands, because he goes, well, I don't have to make that decision because it's a bit too big for me, so I'll let somebody else make it. And as you just said, the other person goes, well, he didn't give it, so how do I get involved? And so before you know it, someone getting kicked in the chest in the penalty area isn't a penalty. How's that right?
I think you're basically saying then that there were always grey areas, and now there are still grey areas, but the grey areas have been sort of moved. And
yeah, they've gone massive.
Yeah. So it's always been subjective, and now it's just subjective based on
times two.
Yeah. With more people, which is more difficult to come to the decision with.
I'm not sure we've made the improvements. Just slagged it off, but we'll have a little bit of break now, and then we'll have a bit of a chat and talk amongst ourselves, and maybe we'll come up with something bad too.
And Erdinger, please.
Stop!
Don't forget the best bit.
Nice one to Erdinger, back in the room with Kevin Craig. And one of the things, so like I say, they voted against the VAR change, so they voted 19-1, but they suggested some improvements that they think should be made, one of which is greater training for the people who are using it, one of which was the communication within the stadiums. But what they did say, which surprised me a little bit, is they want to keep the high threshold. So that is basically what we were talking about before with the McAllister one, whereas if someone's, you know, it's got to be really wrong. It's got to be a glaring. What did they even call it? It's been ages since it was
Clear and obvious.
Clear and obvious error. So that they feel like they want to keep that. I'm a little bit surprised by that, Kev. I thought they'd go, well, actually, do you know what? If it's a foul, it's a foul. But they want to stop this re-reffing the game, which I sort of understand. But I'm a little bit surprised that they've said no. They want to keep the threshold high.
I think because they want the ideal world where the referee is the man back in charge of the game, and if they can get it to the referee given those decisions, those decisions, and then being happy to go, actually, tell me if I've got that right. So give what you think on the pitch. Don't wait for us to give it. So if they want this clear and obvious thing to be like worth it, you've got to get all however many referees there are in the Premier League and say to them, referee the game that's in front of you straight away. Referee without the context of VAR, which is obviously difficult because they know it's there. But give every single decision that you think on the pitch in real time. And if you're not right, we'll come and help you and tell you then. And I think if they give that, it takes away the sort of, what we said before, the safety net of it. And I think if you give the referees that responsibility back, I think they will definitely look at it and go, okay, yeah, well, I'll give the penalty, he's been kicked in the chest. And if I'm wrong, and if he's kidded me, okay, you tell me. And then I won't feel like an
forced to
idiot
make the
for it.
decision, and then rather than do that thing where they begin to walk and the players like and they walk and you can hear them they do this because they're like, I'm listening to hear what they're saying to me. Instead, make the decision and then them go, actually, we're gonna have a quick look at this. And while everyone's getting ready for, say it's a penalty, say it's the McAllister one, they're getting ready for a penalty, they go, actually, we're having a look at this, actually, I'm not sure about this, come and look at the monitor. That should be the process. I think it's interesting whenever you watch the Championship in comparison to the Premier League. Championship's probably the biggest league that doesn't have VAR in it at the moment. And I thought I'd look to see like if they had any sort of like stats or data on how well it's done in terms of refereeing decisions. And the Premier League say that they got 95% of key decisions correct using VAR, which does that feel right? I mean,
1 in 20 wrong.
Yeah.
So and the Championship was 85%. So there's like a 10% discrepancy there, which is like, it's quite big actually when you think about it. And
were those figures Premier League released or Championship released?
One from Premier League and one from the Championship.
And they matched up. Because what I'm getting at there is, I think you can sort of mould them figures for whatever you want it to be. Do you know what I mean?
Well, what's a key decision?
That's the main one, isn't it? Because it's a key decision, a throw-in that goes the wrong way in the halfway line.
Before VAR, they were saying they were getting 96% of decisions right, like all decisions. And now, because of VAR, they've lowered like that to go, it's key decisions that were looking sort of better. They think they've sort of made the jump, but it's like, it's who's marking the work, you know, in all of these things, which is sort of the key. They probably do get more right overall, but it's whether it's, like you say, Kev, whether it's worth the sort of trade-off and and things like that. Another thing we talked about is speeding up the delays, which I think is a good thing, but then, people just rushing decisions and sort of missing stuff. There was one where, recently, which you sort of, they just seemed to miss what had happened, in effect. But the other thing was, they talked about what they'd like to do is basically like more communication after the fact. So a lot more of these, Michael Owen's going to be busy basically. He's going with that with Howard Webb. But also the last point just sounds like talking to fans more about the positives of VAR, which is basically like a PR campaign, which just feels like, again...
No, it is good.
No, it's sound you.
Just talking at me like something I was in 1984 for 3 hours until I agree.
So that's bollocks. But like these shows afterwards with Howard Webb, like I think they do more harm than good. I don't know what you think. I've never seen it because I don't watch them, but I watch Twitter watching them, which is good enough for me because it's funny. And it's like I've never seen anyone go, do you know what, fair play? Like he's really explained that.
No,
well. Like,
exactly. It's almost like I don't feel as if he's gone on there to explain it to everyone. I feel like he's gone on there to basically stick up for his mates, stick up for his position as the leader of the pog mob.
It's like watching a ministerial debate. He's got a scripted plan. Probably not word for word, but he's got the key points that he needs to get across in this.
He might have got this bit wrong, but here's what his thinking is. I don't need him to rationalise why he got it wrong. I want him to tell me that next time
he won't get it wrong.
They've got this bit and what the steps that they're taking to make sure it works. Like the reason why 19 clubs have voted is because they want the decisions right. They're worried that big decisions and big moments. And those big decisions can cost them millions of pounds. Whether they finish sixth or seventh
because of fear.
Exactly. Like it was interesting. The Leeds manager was talking about it when they obviously didn't make it up in the playoffs, and he says, but he reckons that if VAR had been in the Championship with the number of decisions that went against them and for them, that Leeds would have gotten in the automatic.
That's
position.
what everyone thought. That's why they brought it in.
Honestly, but honestly, like that, I'm just like, so what? For years, do you remember the Sterling offside goal at City years ago, and he was miles on? So what? I'm not bothered. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather have the game enjoyable all the time, and sometimes it goes for you and sometimes it goes against you, than the ability to nitpick over something like that.
No, exactly, I agree with you, but we're thinking as fans, I'm saying that these
clubs
clubs are going, this makes a difference of millions of pounds in Leeds.
But I would say if you asked every manager in the Championship, would he be better off or worse with VAR?
Everyone was better off, yeah.
That's how we've ended up with it, because everyone just remembers the decisions like the Sterling one that went against you, and not the ones
it's your own perception.
Well, apparently, one thing Howard Webb did say, which was quite funny, he said he went to see every manager in the Premier League when he first took over, and every one of them said, we don't get a lot of 50-50s. Like, we basically don't get a lot of 50-50 decisions, and he was like, we just can't all be right, you know what I mean? But it is that sort of perception, and like Kev said before, I don't know a lot of agreeing with Kev, which is not in line,
It feels different for me, to be honest, as well. I'm not sure how I feel about it.
We'll let it out.
But what Kev said before is like they were chasing a perfection that I just don't think sort of exists. But listen, hopefully they can make it better. I think to come back to the semi-automated thing, because that's something that we've come up with that feels like it can be done. What I think with that, Craig, is that, the offsides, Kev talked about the Darwin Núñez before, when he's through on goal, the ball's in the net. I think those ones, with any sort of intervention, you're going to be waiting. You're going to have a thing where it's a goal and you're going to be going, oh, is it on? But the ones where they pull back for like an offside, like in the build-up, and it's like the winger who stood on the left-hand side and he gets the ball and then he passes back and then the cross comes in. If something can happen before the fella heads it in the goal, I think that's better.
So I don't know how this is going to work. So I read that they're bringing it in October, which is brilliant, and I'm all for that. Like, use the robots to for these rather than the fucking humans drawing the lines that get thicker and aren't in straight lines, and fucking it adds to the grey area. What will the process be? Because like, how quick? I don't know if you know this, but how quickly will they be able to determine? Because in my head, like, what I love about the goal line technology is it's a little watch, and immediately it just goes. He just goes like he's gonna have another watch here. He's gonna go.
It'll be Delana, because Delana gets stuff in his ear now, doesn't he? You see it now, like they'll play on and then suddenly it'll go.
So he's getting I was thinking, as you were talking there, with the automated offside. Like, I went too complicated with it in my own head, because I was thinking, well, every ground in the Premier League now has got those boards around which are electronic. But it'd be an easy thing if they if it's instantaneous that it gets you, they could flash up. But it doesn't even have to be that complicated, does it? Just buzz the linesman's wrist and he raises his flag.
That's what I want. I think that'll be massive. I think, because I think that there's like you say, it's
they're
so
the worst
annoying.
offsides.
They are,
when you're like, oh, even when they give it against
It's
you, I'm
against
like,
the spirit of the
who's
offside,
fucking ass?
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If
Yeah.
some fella who got a free pass before on the left wing is like a toenail off,
And the ones that they let
like
run,
the Coventry one.
the runs that they let run because they have to now because of
Yeah.
VAR, and everyone knows it's offside, and then I just think like there's going to be a point where a goalkeeper gets injured and everyone like kicks off because they've kept it going for too long when everyone could see that it was miles offside. So yeah, I always a little thingy in the wrist that just goes beep.
So yeah, I think we've got one improvement more, though, back to less Manx.
That's just life in general.